Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are talking about the Bands of Mourning, chapters 21, 22, and 23, wherein they take a ride in an airship. They see, they spot the party that Wax's uncle is moving in, and they discover an ancient temple high in the frozen mountains, where Melon gets crushed and stabbed, and various other things happen to her. So I'm Data, and with me is
Jamie,
Joe, and Dak.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Revolution holds us bound. Come on down to London town. Break your back for class and crown. Come on down to London town. Steam train running on a restless rail. Speeding right into the rising gale. Shovel harder 'cause we're on your tail. London's bloody cry.
So yeah, 3 chapters and a broadsheet page. What did you guys think of these chapters?
yeah, I thought they were pretty good. It's definitely not an area that I was kind of predicting that we would go. Yeah, it sort of changed things a little bit for me, but I like Alec. I think he's a bit of fun, and lots of cool information about the pendants that he can use for ferrochemical ability. The whole thing about the Lord Ruler, was it their sovereign? Is that what they were calling him?
Yeah, the Sovereign.
The sovereign. Yeah, I was like, wow, yeah, actually completely forgot to consider any people that were outside, basically Lutherdale in the first book. It was like, well, if you weren't in that main area, that was it. We didn't really consider you, but interesting to sort of think about people that were outside that area. I was kind of grossed out by Melan's surgery on Marasai, but I think we sort of saw that coming from last week. But I'm glad Marasai's going to be okay. Telson, yeah, she's intense. I don't think I dislike her yet. I don't really know enough about her, but she's like kill. It's just weird how much she wants to grab the gun and off we go. I actually really enjoyed Wayne's chapter this week. Just some of his comments and observations. I feel like he wasn't super out there with anything he said, but just little comments like, Wax names them and I like his guns and I can never keep them straight, and what is Sterith doing riding all the time? And I thought that was enough to be humorous, but not enough to be like, oh, Wayne this week. So I enjoyed his perspective a little bit more. And yeah, now inside this temple of doom, effectively. Yes, it's lucky they've got someone who's immortal that can go ahead and set off all the traps and stuff, but it sounds like a long night for Melan.
Yeah, that can't be fun.
I'm so worried about my outfits being ruined. You know what? You've got bigger problems today. It's fine. We'll sort it out on the other side.
And yeah, I agree with you. Like, Telson is odd. I don't feel like we're getting to know much more about her, even though we spend a little time kind of trying to. It's just she's like, I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah, and I can almost kind of understand it as like her first response when we were like in the ship and at the site last week in the last chapters that we read, that were just like, yeah, I've got a shot, like, let's go, give me a gun, boom. Okay, you kind of maybe got a bit of adrenaline going in that instance because you've just seen your brother for the first time in how long, and there's a chance you're going to be free or something. I kind of get it there, but you've had a little bit of time to calm down a little bit now. Like, don't feel that your first reaction should be just to shoot everybody. So
yeah, she's an odd one, all right.
These chapters were okay. There's a lot of interesting little knowledge nuggets that we get, which is fun. I don't know. I don't know that I buy the Lord Ruler somehow coming back and being able to help these peoples. So I think there must be some kind of confusion between who this actually is, because as far as we know, no one's ever come back from being dead other than, nobody's come back from being dead. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, people, so let's say Kelsier, for example, we know he didn't move on, right? He stayed in the cognitive realm and then asked preservation if he could be bound there.
Yep.
Whereas the Lord Ruler, in Secret History, we see him move on. So I just don't feel like I buy that it was the Lord Ruler. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But yeah, so I wasn't sure about that particular thing. I do like the airship stuff. It's really cool. I like the way they explain how it works. I'm definitely interested to learn more about this metal that blows up when you get it wet. Et metal, I think is what they call it, something like that. So definitely interested to know more about that. And let's see, what else do we have? I guess we've got these little bits of information. There is this real temple. Maybe the bands of mourning are there. I don't know. It's all pointing that way. But as far as Telson's concerned, I mean, I feel like this is a classic evil villain overcompensation. I'm going to be so angry at my would-be captors that I'm just going to like overcompensate and be like, I got to kill him. I'll never go back. He will never take me back. Classic overcompensation. So I feel like she is just really, she's doing the best. She's doing the biggest performance of her life. That's what's going on here. That's how I feel about it anyway.
Okay.
The lady doth protest too much, if you know what I'm saying. It just, it doesn't hold water for me. But yeah, it's good chapters though. I'm excited to see. We're like, I guess a little over 75% of the way through, so we're almost at the end. So excited to see how this little adventure winds up.
Yeah, it's interesting the thing about the Lord Ruler, because that would be something new. Of course, I guess it's also important to remember that when this first came out, like Secret History was something that came out right after this. So when people originally read this, they didn't have that to reference necessarily.
Right.
So
I'm right.
Yeah. So it's very it's very interesting. The question of what exactly is going on there. It's like somebody's back from the dead.
I really like these chapters. The temple bit especially. I'm just like, ooh, we're actually getting into some proper Indiana Jonesing now, and like I'm all about this. That's something we haven't really plumbed in this particular series so far. So, like that getting to the temple and all that sort of stuff. I'm just like, ooh, this is new. This is different. I'm enjoying this. Cool. Yeah. So like that's all good. I enjoyed learning more about Alec when he was talking about like the Lord Ruler and everything. I'm just like, that doesn't sound right. Oh, wait, is he talking about Marsh? Like, is Marsh down there posing as the Lord Ruler?
It does sound that way with the one spike, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Marsh is still a known factor in these books, and people have mistaken him for the Lord Ruler before. Like, obviously, Alec's culture is very different to the one up at the top end of the planet, so it might not be a stretch. Like, they don't have the whole death connotations that Marsh has up here, so it's like, oh, yeah, no, that's just sovereign. He's great.
Doesn't he mention death though to him? He mentions Iron Eyes. That was the thing that caught my attention. Is he mentions Iron Eyes to Alec, and Alec nods or something.
Oh, I don't remember that bit. I must have missed that. I guess that might be my theory shot to pieces there, but that's all right. I agree with Joe. I think Telson is she's acting overly traumatized by a captive's experience, so that they are not suspecting her as being in on Suit's thing at all. I still think she is the villain here, but yeah, like I'm enjoying this. I do have a hell of a prediction for the end, but I guess we'll save that for then. Yeah, I really enjoyed these. These are probably among some of my favorite chapters of the book so far.
Okay, I had to look it up while we were talking since you asked. He does not mention Iron Eyes. Nobody does to Alec, although they do. Marisai and Wax have a discussion where Iron Eyes comes up while they're in the ship, where I guess Alec could potentially overhear, but it doesn't, mention any reaction from him.
Oh, okay. I guess I imagined it.
But yeah, so there's I'm interested in Dax. Like, I got a big prediction for the end, so we're gonna have to wait. Don't forget to make that prediction then, because I want to.
Oh, I won't. Trust me. This is as soon as I got to the end of these chapters, I'm just like, oh my god, there it is.
Oh, okay. I bet I know. I bet I figured out based on that statement, like what kind of prediction it's going to be.
Yeah, probably.
Indiana Jones is actually in the temple. It's fine.
I'd never really thought about it as so Indiana Jonesy until Jamie said Temple of Doom, and I'm like, yep. And so yeah, Jamie and Dak. Yep, that's what their names are. Right on the same page.
They're gonna find this other dude in the temple, and Wayne's gonna
Yeah.
cozy up to him and go, "That's a really nice hat you've got," and the guy's just like, "Back off, buddy."
Yeah, and he's like, "You have chosen poorly."
No, he's gonna find a dead guy and like take his nice hat.
Sure.
Whoa! You saying Indy's gone?
In this world. I guess actually the Conjure was Indiana Jones, we decided, right? So Indiana Jones blew up.
No, he was at the start of Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was like the other archaeologist that Indy found the temple impaled on the spikes.
Oh yeah. I don't remember that guy's name, but yeah.
Started with an F, but I can't remember the rest of it.
Thor and Dr. Jones.
Big Bang Theory reference or what out there. Okay, I guess let's get into these things. So first, we got the broadsheet page, which tells us almost the entire story. It cuts off the beginning, which we'd already read, of the ghastly gondola. And so a couple interesting little things that pop out, at least to me in here, is we got this guy with his weird like ghost gun thing, which the picture shows, and our main character, Nikki Savage, is a leecher, and it turns out that whatever weird glowy gun thing he's using, her leecher power can affect it, because she manages in the middle of the fight to reach out and grab it, and she says that it feels the same way it does when she's leeching metals away from somebody. She's drawing power out and sending it off somewhere else. But that does not permanently stop the gun, so that's interesting. And then they're in a fight over this map, and dude's like, just give me the map, leave me alone, jeez, it's just a map. And she's like, no, this is my inheritance. And I like the line, I don't care if it's the survivor's bathrobe, just give it to me.
Word.
And she says, you're entirely disagreeable. And he goes, then you're starting to figure me out. And then she's just like, dude, a little politeness and we could have avoided this whole thing. And he's like, I don't do politeness. That's not how I work. As he like cuts the map and falls from the gondola. And then she comes back later and tries to find where he fell, and doesn't find the guy, but finds a white-haired man who offers to tell her a story.
So that got my attention. I was like, is that the sexy drifter?
Yeah, I assume that must be a Hoyd reference, because he often has white hair, and he seems like a storytelling sort of fellow, but...
Sure.
Okay, also, I have to point out that I love her cat's name is Pinecone Alamouser III, which is just an adorable, silly name. But we got this guy who has stolen this map from her, which her father left her, had his secret compartment sewn in the back, right? And he rips it. She says he got the better part of the map. If you go back to the beginning of the book, the map of New Saran, it is a map commissioned by his lord, Stephen Savage, which we established at the beginning. That's the father of Nikki Savage. So she's looking for a map that belonged to her dad, and a map that ripped when this guy was fighting her over it, which, if you look at the map at the beginning of the book, it is clearly a map that has ripped in the middle at an angle.
Too, yeah.
So this appears to be the map from the story that we read. And
Gotcha.
based on handwriting and based on the fact that there's always the same guy annotating these maps in these books, we figure that Naz is the one who wrote on this map. So probably he is the guy in this story who stole the map from her.
Naz has ghost bullets?
So yes, he has some sort of weird gun.
That makes sense. They hang out in the cognitive realm quite a bit.
There's a couple other little hints in the dialogue. Like he says, shadows, woman, which is a thing that makes sense when he maybe even said it in Secret History, but shadows is like a thing that makes sense when you know more about where he's from. So yes, this appears to be him, and he's so we've got a story about him taking this map from this lady, which clearly it belongs to her.
I want to know how he's getting Casper the Friendly Bullet.
Yeah, like that is the question, right?
That's a level of tech we haven't seen before.
I mean,
I
he
thought we
had
saw
a
it in
gun.
Secret History. Didn't we see like
So he had a gun.
daggers or something?
Well, no, Chris had the gun, didn't she?
Okay, somebody had a gun. I don't think we saw them fire it though. So
No, it never got fired.
Because Kelsier didn't even recognize exactly what it was. Like they pulled it on him, and he was like, "They're holding some sort of thing, like a
It's
tube." Yeah.
It's a cognitive realm gun.
So yes, this raises all sorts of interesting possibilities or questions about what is going on and the things that he's doing around here. So yeah, just some fun stuff with this article. I think that may be one of my favorite broadsheets of this series. Okay, into the chapters. So we got Wax still pushing the ship up, and he's realizing, oh, hey, those medallions are letting everyone else store their weight like I do, which we knew that already. And the guy who we will find out is named Alec. He's like, you're doing great, oh divine one. And Wax is like, I can't keep pushing much longer. And the guy says, you won't have to. And he asks for the primer cube, which Wayne has the little cube, the allomantic grenade, as they've been calling it. And so he takes it and, like, sticks it on Wax's arm until it starts buzzing, and then puts it into, like, a slot that apparently is for that. And it starts keeping the ship up so that Wax doesn't have to, basically. And also there's a big fan that is apparently contributing to their mobility, I guess, while you're in the air. You can let go, great being of metals. And he's like, no, reduce your weight. I mean, if it is aligned to your magnificent will, oh metabolic one. So he explains, he's like, we're supposed to use a different title each time, yeah?
I love that. He's like,
So
just keeps changing it up.
It's so weird. And I love how it gets like very reverent and then quite sarcastic.
Yes, he's capable of both of those, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Please don't launch a coin directly into my skull. I'm not insolent, just stupid. I feel like this is a problem you would run into, though. If you're really supposed to use a different one every time, then you're not going to be able to go very long without, like, starting to run out of things to say.
Yeah, I guess maybe they so rarely meet these people like him that it's like, well, I don't really have an opportunity to say this many in a row. This is weird.
I've prepared a number of them for, handshake meet and greet events, but not to sit in a ship for hours.
Quick, bring me the Royal Thesaurus.
We find out his name is Alec Neverfar.
Great name. Great name.
And let's see, what else? Oh, so yeah, he's like, okay, I'll be right back. And he jumps down and gets Steris, and Steris has, like, got everything packed up, got the horses ready to go. She's ready. And then he's like, no, yeah, just leave all that stuff, grab your packs, and let's get out of here. We found something better than horses. And apparently this little ship is called Wilg, because Alec's like, oh, 7 people and supplies? This is above the weight that Wilg is supposed to carry. So he's like, so where are we going? And Wax says Ellendale, and the guy's like, and where's that?
Such a great line. He's like, yeah. And what is an Ellendale?
And as he tries to explain it, Telson's like, no, we have to talk. And then there's like a big boom. He's like, crap, they do have a cannon. They're going to shoot us out of the sky. And so Telson says that there's some sort of weapon up in the mountains. Our uncle's heading that way. He's going to get it. And we need to beat him. She doesn't know much. She's like, he gets angry if I ask him about his work. He wanted me for one of his projects originally, but my age makes that impossible. So I guess she's no longer young enough for the Allomancy breeding project.
If that's even what they're doing.
I feel like that's the hint there, or like that's the implication. But
yeah, but
if you're right and she's bad, then she might just be trying to draw Wax's attention away from something.
That's what I was gonna say, because I bet by now they think that's what he thinks. Like, they've gotten enough intel to know, oh, Waxillium thinks we're doing this. So they may not even be doing that at all. Yeah. They may be doing something completely different with the ladies that they captured. So who knows?
Who we still haven't run into anywhere. And Wax doesn't ask if she knows about some other women, which I think is kind of like, oh.
Yeah, he gets distracted.
It's true. I just remember when we started this book, Jamie's like, I really hope that we find out finally what happened to these other women. So I've been on the lookout to be like, maybe they'll mention something.
I'm starting to think that it's in a book that hasn't been released yet.
Oh. Well, since there's only one more in the series, yeah. If it's not in this one, hopefully it's in that one.
I think the red flag in this conversation here was like, that's like, yeah, she's not being honest. Is she says he grows angry if I ask about his work. I'm like, okay, we've seen many conversations between Suit and Wax where they banter back and forth. And Suit never gets angry. He gets obstructive. He gets, he tries to misdirect, and he will do all these things, but he never gets angry. So that's for her to say. That's very out of character for him. So I think that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. In fact, the person that usually gets angry in their conversations is Wax.
Yeah, it's pretty much always Wax. Suit is always very calm, and he can be snarky, and he can be sarcastic, and he's got this like outward politeness that he's always trying. You know what he really reminds me of? I've been watching The Blacklist lately, and I don't know if y'all have seen that, but like the main character Reddington is very much like Suit.
Interesting.
Didn't occur to me until just now.
You see the main character of The Blacklist is James Spader?
Yeah, he's the headline star of the show.
I guess. I thought the FBI agent was the main character.
Well, spoiler, in case anyone hasn't watched the most recent seasons of The Blacklist, skip forward 10 seconds. She apparently dies in season like 8 or 9, and they're still making more seasons. So.
Oh, yeah, I had no idea.
I didn't either, and I haven't actually gotten that far in my watch through, but I accidentally got spoiled on it when I read it somewhere. So.
Dang.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I hope that none of you guys were going to watch it and then be upset that you've now been spoiled on that. But it's weird because it was a show that I started watching when it came out, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then I watched like the first 2 seasons as they were airing, and then like just life happened. And when season 3 started airing, I wasn't watching, and then I got so far behind that I was like, oh, it'll take me forever to catch up now. And it was just, I never watched again because I didn't have the time to dedicate to catch up. And so finally, when I was like, what do I want to watch now? I was like, I know, I'll go back to that finally. But yeah, I love it. Great show. Yes, Telson convinces Wax that there's a weapon, or their uncle thinks there's a weapon up there, and if he gets it, then it's bad for everyone. He'll be able to dominate the basin. And Wax is like, well, we'll go tell the governor in Ellendale. And Telson's like, no, what if that takes too long? Do you know what it is? And Wax is like, yeah. Just looking at the medallion, like, yeah, so Ferrochemy or Allomancy that anyone can use. The Lord Ruler's own power, Waxilium, the bands of mourning. If we could get them and use them before him, then he has to travel on foot on a treacherous mountain trail. We can just fly. And so finally he's like, okay, let's check on Marisai and then we'll decide. Because, right, Marisai got shot, so if she's dying, then maybe we take her to help.
I think so.
And we get some introspection by Marisai about God, basically. And finally, a little bit of information about like how the survivorists see, like what they believe and how they see Harmony, basically. Because I feel like that's been a question from the beginning. Like, you guys know that Harmony is real, right? So how can you worship the survivor? So apparently, yeah, they believe Harmony's out there, that he's like this benevolent deity, but they believe he's like more of a force. That he's just as happy to help a beetle as to help a person. So if you really want something done, you pray to the survivor. So that's an interesting, I guess they feel like the survivor cares about humanity more. Which, to be fair, might be true. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say he cares about humanity more, but they're definitely bang on that he's more likely to act.
That's a good point. Yeah.
He did spark a revolution.
Well, and Sazed has kind of told us that he can't do much because of like the opposing powers he holds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Melon is doing sort of surgery, I guess, helping fix Marisai up. And I love the moment where Marisai's like, I'm going to die, aren't I? And Melon's, yep. Says, yep, nothing I can do about it. And then Melon explains to Wax, like, oh, yeah, so there was a hole in the intestines. Sewed that up with some cat gut I made from some spare intestines I had brewing. And then patched it up with some of my own flesh, which she took a bite of Marisai, replicated her skin, and then attached that so that her body wouldn't reject it.
Yeah, sounds pretty hot.
I mean, it makes sense, but ew.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be Marisai. She's like, you ate part of me?
Yeah. It's almost worse than being shot. Like, emotionally, not obviously that she's going to live, you know. It's
right.
It's helped, but like, you don't develop a taste for me or anything. Like, this is not good.
Another gross part is like
10 years later, they're reminiscing about this adventure, and Maylard just goes like, "Yeah, you tasted great, by the way."
She's like, no, you're not nearly rancid enough for my taste.
She said before that human meat is not very good. So
yeah, but I can never see Maylard doing it to fuck with her.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, apparently she also like kind of sucked up all the gross goop in there, and she like dumps it out over the side. She's like, you owe me. This is nasty.
Everything about this is both brilliant and gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she's got the doctor's advice, like just as they're finishing. She's like, okay, it's going to get itchy, but don't scratch it. Let me know if it starts to go necrotic. And I was like, well, yeah, that would be a good thing to mention probably.
Yeah.
She's like, but you said I was going to die. And she's like, well, I mean, of course you're going to die. You're mortal. I can't turn you into a conjurer. Just, oh, you thought I meant today.
I was expecting every time like that sort of thing happens, there's always the joke. It's like, oh, I didn't mean today, and they did it intentionally. The fact that she just didn't even think about it and took it literally, and then she's like, oh shit, did you mean today? Oh god damn, like that is what made this so hilarious.
I guess after living for hundreds of years, you're like, well, your puny human lifespan is
Right?
drop in the ocean to me. It's like, yeah, you're gonna die soon. You know, might still be 80 years away, but you're gonna die soon.
Oh man. And so yeah, she's embarrassed and like, okay, I'm not gonna die today. That's good. Well, probably not today. I mean, the day's not over yet, but
Not because of my gunshot wound.
right, yeah. So really, all in all, that's a pretty quick resolution to the gut shot that she got, and she's up and around and feeling better. So that's pretty nice to have the conjurer around.
Very
See,
useful.
anything they can't do.
Right. And so Wax gets Maricide to go up and talk to the guy. Like, you guys seem to have bonded or something. I mean, you let him out of the cage, so. And here's where she mentions Iron Eyes. It's like, because they're talking about the spike, Ray Lure's spike, and Wax is like, they degrade if they're out of the body, right? She's like, how do you know about that? And he says, oh, the book Iron Eyes gave me. And Melon says, oh, right, that. The Lord Mistborn was wrong to create that. And he's like, well, I read it, so whatever.
Yeah.
And so they're, I like Maricide's like, I mean, we didn't really come here for the spike or your sister, did we? And he's like, no, I came here to stop Suit. So we're going after the weapon, basically. We don't want him to be a full Mistborn and a full Ferrochemist, like Miles, but worse. And so, yeah, he's like, go talk to Alec and see what he knows. And so Alec, he's got an interesting, because like, remember when she first saw his outfit, she was like, I expected him to like be wearing like a loincloth or something, like this barbarian look. And Alec is like, man, I assumed that everybody up here in the land of the Sovereign was a barbarian. But then you let me out, and you had one of them with you, a grand metal born of the precious arts. And like Maricide's like, well, I don't feel like a barbarian. But he says there were 15 masks on the wall, but nearly 100 in the crew of Brunstel, the big ship, I guess. Do you know where they are? And she's like, maybe. And then shows him the notebook that they found. And it's got some information about the ship, right? And he's like, they couldn't even communicate with us. How did they get all this? And then she remembers, the torture chamber. And she's like, well, torture is a powerful motivator for overcoming barriers. And so he says, you think that the evil men brought my crewmates to find the Sovereign's temple. She's like, I mean, yeah, that's the kind of thing they do. Bring people to like lead the way.
Mm-hmm. Evil people, sure.
And so Alec's like, okay, well, I'm going after them. I mean, I'll drop you somewhere if you want, but because I don't want to piss off that one over there, Wax. But I got to find him.
Smart guy.
Then Wax is like, so who's the Sovereign? And he's like, well, surely he was not as great as you, remarkable one. And then he turns to Maricide. He's like, he's staring at me, isn't he? The Sovereign was our king from 3 centuries ago. He told us he was your king first and your god. And Wax is like, the Lord Ruler, but he died. And Alec's like, yeah, he told us about that. So 300 years ago, 330 exactly. And so he's like, so that's after Harmony ascended. So this would have been after the world got remade. Are you sure about those dates? Of course I'm sure. But if you wish me to revise my beliefs in order to... He's like, no, just stop sucking up. Jeez. The Sovereign came 10 years after the Ice Death. Silly name, but you got to call it something. And so 300 years ago, or over 300 years, the world was remade. And Wax is like, yeah, the Catacondra. Harmony saved the world. And Alec's like, he froze it. The land was soft and warm, and now it's harsh and broken and frozen. And so here's the part where Maricide's like, oh, don't you get it? Like, in the Final Empire times, no one went to the south of the planet because the ocean supposedly boiled if you got too close to the equator, because the planet was too close to the sun, as we recall. And so the people who lived down south did not have the ash mounts to fill up the sky with ash and prevent the blazing hot sun from burning them all to death. So instead, they apparently adapted, Waxilium concludes. They became something able to live in the super hot climate. Then when Harmony fixed everything, suddenly it was not super hot anymore. It was, for them, way too cold. And so he has a medallion that stores heat in the ferrochemical sense. And we find out that back in the day, we knew that the terrace land was originally up in the snowy mountains. So apparently that was a thing that they did. They stored up heat so they could go up into the freezing cold mountains and survive where no one else could, which that makes sense. And so, according to Alec, the Sovereign came 10 years after everything froze and taught them how to do this feruchemy thing. Taught us that Metalborn were pieces of God, gave us devices, and started the Fire Mothers and Fire Fathers who lived to fill these medallions so the rest of us can leave our homes. And so Marisai's like, so it was the Lord Ruler seeking redemption for what he did up here by saving the people down there. Wax is like, no, he was dead. The records, and she's like, the records have been wrong before. It had to be him. I mean, the bands, right? Like, who else could have created the bands?
Who could create the bands of mourning?
And he calls him, blasphemous one, when Wax starts talking about stuff that apparently you're not supposed, it's holy word you're not supposed to say.
Love it.
But they cannot create the ones, like, that grant all the powers. As he goes on to explain, basically, generally the most you get is 2. So you've got a ring of Nigrosil on these medallions that gives you the ability to use investiture. So that's important. That's the thing that allows you to do any of the other things, is you have to be able to access investiture. And so, other than that, all of them that you use on the ship seem to allow for the storing of weight, because I guess you kind of need that if you're going to fly in one of these ships. You need to be able to store your weight. So all of the medallions have the investiture, and all of these have the weight one. But the maximum you can have, in addition to the basic investiture, is 2. And he's like, I've seen like 3 before, but no one's ever been able to get up to 4. So he has to choose between weight and connection, which allows him, the connection allows him to talk to them, or weight and heat, which allows him to not feel like he's freezing to death. So that's a tough call. And Wax is like, well, why don't you just strap a bunch of them on? And this is when he gets all sarcastic, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Great Wise One. You're obviously very knowledgeable and know things none of us would ever think to try. And Wax is just like, shut up. So it doesn't work. And he's like, no, they interfere with each other. And so Wax is like, Wax figures out that they also came up here looking for the bands of mourning, the set of bracers that allows you to have all the powers. And Alec is kind of like, oh, crap, he figured it out. When the Sovereign left us, he took the bands with him along with his priests, although some of those eventually came back to tell us about this great journey. He had them build a temple in a hidden range of mountains and left the priests there with the bands to protect them until he returned. And that was dumb, yeah, because we really could use those to fight the deniers of masks. So apparently there's a group called the Deniers of Masks, whatever. He makes it clear that not you're just barbarians. They're really dangerous. And Wayne's like, hey, we knocked your big ship out of the sky. And Alec's like, no, you didn't. We hit a big storm. That's the danger of having these super light ships, is that storms can knock you around. You guys don't have weapons that could hurt us. Or at least not that much, basically.
Yeah, we totally took down your big ship. No, we crashed, dude.
He says, we crashed into this poor village, and the barbarians there were really nice at first, but then the others came. And so they're trying to find the bands. And Wax is like, but you told us that he left the bands there for himself. And Alec's like, well, yeah, but everyone interprets that as a challenge, like a test that he set, right? He loved those. Why would he tell the priests about them if he didn't want us to come and claim them? And so there's another group called the Hunters, and they sent a big quest to find the temple. They succeeded, but just only a skimmer came back with a map. The rest of them froze to death. And so Marisai's like, so we're going to go after the temple, right? And Wax is like, damn right. So yeah, we got a lot of as you say, knowledge nuggets about where Alec is from and how these medallions work.
Delicious knowledge. I'll take a 10-piece knowledge nuggets and a side of information fries.
Alamancy juice.
Memory juice?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Copper fries.
Apparently the ship does not move real fast, but the getting to go in a straight line is still an advantage in being able to travel. So, makes up for it. Wayne gave Marisai something to help with the pain, but he wouldn't say what it was, which, okay, I think you should probably worry about that. You're going to be tripping balls or something in a minute.
Yeah. Hardcore narcotics. Gave her some Molly.
Water, ordinary water, mixed with a few drops of LSD.
My hands are so huge, they can touch anything but themselves. Oh, wait.
And so he's telling her all about where he's from and how the Lord Ruler, the Sovereign, left behind this stuff for them, and how everyone there wears masks, but not everybody wears them the same way. Some of them change somewhat frequently, but other ones like change only once. The hunters supposedly grow into their masks somehow, which, geez, that sounds hardcore.
Ugh.
And then there's a group that used to be the kings before the world froze, and they've been cast down basically because they offended the Jägermeier, which is why everything went wrong. And so apparently the Jägermeier is, I guess, their god, their pantheon or whatever of gods or something from back in the day. There's Hare and his sister Fru, who's also his wife. She makes things stop, he makes them go, but neither can make life on their own. And she's like, oh, you got the same stories. That's ruin and preservation. They're harmony now. And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, you don't know what you're talking about. They were always one, but always apart. Very, very complex. You wouldn't understand. And so he is a skimmer pilot, which I guess that worked out since they're in a skimmer that he needs to pilot for them. But he feels like being able to speak different languages comes in handy in that job. So he can wear other medallions, basically. And he gets very angry when she compares him to like a normal low shipman, as he calls them, who swabs decks and ties ropes and does that sort of thing. You gotta be a lady or gentleman to work in the air. We throw people overboard for not knowing the proper dance moves.
Yeah, dancing. It's very important.
Okay, and so then they start talking about the special stone that fuels the ship. He doesn't have enough of it to get back to his own land in this little ship. The Et metal is what supports it. So yeah, this stone that explodes when it gets wet is called Et metal, and that's what they use for fuel apparently in these flying ships. And she's like, "What kind of metal explodes if you put it in water?" He's like, "That kind."
Et metal. I just said it.
Yeah.
Am I talking to myself here?
Are you listening at all? Jeez. And there's an interesting discussion about she's like, we're gonna find your friends, we're gonna send you all back home. And he's like, really? You think your people are just going to let us fly away in our ship that they have no technology, anything like? And then she tries to reason, like, no, we'll figure it out. And he's like, then the opposite is true, whereas it's like, I mean, the people where I'm from might be real tempted by you guys up here that, you have no defense against attack from above. And she's like, okay, well, see, then we need allies, so we need to be friends. And then the Bands of Mourning comes up, and he's like, okay, so what happens if we find those? They're ours. I don't think your metal-born lord over there is going to let them slip away from him. Which more and more we see, Jamie brought it up last time. It's like he has this real serious respect for Wax. And either doesn't know that Marasai is also a metal-born or doesn't care as much. Like, he's not as impressed with her. Maybe because she can't, shoot a coin through his head.
Yeah, Wayne makes a similar point in his own head later, and I wonder if they hold steel pushing or lurching in high regard.
I mean, I guess the steel pushing is what flies the ships, basically, so maybe that's a real special one. And Marasai's like, I mean, we also have a claim on the bands. He was our ruler first. And Alex like, well, yeah, ruler you killed, but let's not fight about it.
Could have just taken him out of his body when he was lying on the floor there, but you didn't, so you had your chance.
Although, as we established, we talked about before, they did. Technically, Vin rips them off and shoots them out the window to kill him in the first place, right?
Yeah, true.
But then later, they find them and they melt them down. So they kind of did.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do a very good job of that, apparently.
Anyway. And so apparently, that hunter ship came up here with big old Et metal bombs that were supposed to blow up the temple. Apparently they did not succeed, although Wax has some other ideas about that later. And then Marasai's like, oh man, she has him switch back to the heat one because he's freezing. And so she's like, oh, why didn't I think of this? And so she tries to use the language one, and it doesn't work. And the guy has to explain to her, he's like, no, it stores connection. So when you tap the connection, you have to connect to something. It connects to the place where you are and makes your soul think you were raised in this place instead, and so your language changes.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Making your soul think that its past was different than, we've seen something like that before.
Interesting. Oh, wait, no, the other thing. Tedious.
Like, they even explain why he has an accent despite the connection. And so Marisai's like, man, that's weird. But Wax is over here like, no, yeah, it makes complete sense. They spot down below them a bunch of light. And it's like, oh, it must be like a village. And Wax is like, no, this area is uninhabited. That's Suit and his expedition. Wake the others. And we get Wayne's perspective, where he was upset because he was having a great dream where he was the king of the dogs, with a crown shaped like a bowl and everything.
It's got to have a fancy hat.
Exactly, yeah. Wayne can't not have
Sure.
But also, like, if it's shaped like a bowl, does that mean he keeps his snacks in there?
Maybe. And so it's like, Wax is like, man, I bet that they left on their expedition and pushed towards it as soon as they found out what happened, like, because they know we're coming. And Telson's like, I want that gun, I'm going to shoot him. And Wax is like, you're not going to make a shot like that from here. I don't even know if I can. And she's like, I want him dead. And then as they're kind of all leaning out, looking down at the party, and they're trying to come back in, they get tangled up, and Wayne accidentally kicks one of the packs out right on top of... it hits one of the guys down there in the head. And Telson's like, what did you do? And Wayne's like, I'm so... And I like Marisai, she's like, what did Wayne do now?
Well,
Not
you
my
know.
fault. Wax woke me up too soon, put me off balance.
Immediately
Things
tried
happen,
to
man.
blame Wax.
Yeah.
Wayne just... Not
Things
my
fall
fault.
out of airships. Yeah, things fall out of airships around Wax. You know this. Wayne, it's the
just
first
remember-
time we've ever been in an airship. Don't tell me how to think.
Just remember, anything I do wrong is because of Wax, because he's the one who brought me. You
That's
literally
true.
stowaway.
Yeah, anything I do, you can trace back to Wax, because he found me. And he let me walker his horse around. That was
True.
the thing that happened.
So he's like, okay. And here's where Wayne like stares in her notebook and is like, she's taking notes. What's wrong with that woman? He just has to be mean to Steris, even in his own head. And so Wax is like, okay, get us out of here. And then they very quickly make their way up to and spot the temple, which means that they're probably not very far ahead of these guys. And they bring the ship in for a landing. It's not the smoothest landing ever, but he's like, well, landing is difficult. And Marisai's like, I mean, technically, it's probably the easiest thing as long as you're not picky.
Oh, does Marisai say that? I thought Meilon says it.
No, that's Marisai. And then they go out into the snow, some very deep snow. And Wayne's like, man, why does snow crunch? It's made of water, not cereal flakes. It's just the weirdest random observation.
It's like, of all the things he could compare to, cereal? What has he done to
me
Wax's
going,
pantry?
Wayne, you have a point. Why is it crunching? Big blocks of ice, you idiot.
And there's a moment where Marisai's like almost blown away because she forgot to stop filling the weight metal mind. And he's like, yeah, rookie mistake. And then Wax has everybody get back, and he like buries the ship in the snow. And Wayne's like, yeah, good, nice. So I guess they don't want Suits people to find it. And here's where Wayne walks up to the guy, and he's like, you know, I'm an Alamancer too. I mean, you seem to have like this whole religious thing with them and all. So I just want you to know, in case you want somebody to worship, I'm here. Got speed bubbles, you know. You can give me one of those fancy titles, handsome one, smart one, guy with a great hat. And the guy says nothing. And Wayne's like, this is not fair. Wax doesn't want you to worship him, but you got to worship someone, so why not me? And Marisai's finally like, he can't understand you. He's warming himself.
I just want to know what's going through Alex's head. He's like, man, this guy just won't shut the fuck up.
It's probably exactly what's going through his head.
He's just like, why is he spouting gibberish at me? He knows I can't understand him, right?
Why does he keep flapping his arms and pointing at his hat?
Yeah, well, what does that matter?
Wayne says, well, when he gets his brain back, someone tell him I'm a god, all right? And Wax has apparently been listening, because he's like, yeah, will do. And they find the ship that the hunters sent. And he's like, oh, so this ship was sent to destroy the place. Looks like they didn't succeed. That's good for us. And Marisai comments, or Wayne comments, rather. It's like, your sister is kind of, and Marisai says, severe? And Wayne says, I was going to say bonkers. So I'm not sure yet if it's the good kind or the bad kind of bonkers. And Wax is like, no, it'll be fine. She's been through a lot. We'll get her some doctors. She'll get better. And when he's like, well, I mean, if she gets better, she won't fit in with us anymore. But which isn't that true?
Yeah. No, he's got a point there.
As long as she's not evil, she might be useful.
But I think my favorite bit of Wayne perspective is his opinion on statues, where they see a big statue, and he's like, this is a weird place for a statue. But I guess actually the statues back in Ellendale, a million birds are always crapping on them. So maybe this is the best place to keep your statue.
If you want to keep your statue clean, the middle of nowhere is the place to do it.
Yeah. You want a clean statue? I got just the place.
I can't argue with his logic here.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's got a point.
It made sense for the first time, Wayne.
How do you know it's a good place for a statue? It ain't got shit all over it.
That's how you know it's a statue of a king.
Yeah.
But no, so it is, the statue has a spike in one eye, just like the coin that Wax got from Hoyd. So, and Wax is like, I mean, if this was built by the Lord Ruler, why'd he make a statue of himself with one spike in his eye? And he's got a spear with like the head touching the ground. And Wax says it must be aluminum because I don't see any allomantic lines. That's expensive. And Marisai says the Lord Ruler was run through with 3 spears by the Lord Mistborn's testimony. 1 stabbed by a beggar for the poverty, 1 by a worker for the slavery, the last by a prince for the lords he corrupted, but spears didn't hurt him. Which is not at all accurate,
No.
but is the kind of mythological thing that happened.
Yeah, it's a lot more impressive than
bullshit.
just some random dudes just stabbed him as he walked past.
I actually, after reading this time, I was like, I gotta go remind myself what actually happened. So in the fight where he kills Kelsier, one of the soldiers they recruited, originally a Ska, I guess, or I mean, he was a Ska still, but originally like a Ska worker that they've recruited, who is now one of the soldiers that they've trained. He runs up, stabs the Lord Ruler with a spear. The Lord Ruler pays absolutely no attention. Same guy gets another spear from one of his friends, stabs the Lord Ruler again, and then the Lord Ruler like tosses him back and the Inquisitors chop him up. And then the Lord Ruler takes one of those spears out of his own body after he smacks the shit out of Kelsier and stabs Kelsier with it.
Oh, so Spook couldn't even get the number right.
Apparently not.
Fucking Spook.
Dude, he's the fucking worst, let me tell you.
And then Wayne is like, he's thinking like, aluminum, huh? Well, that's probably worth a lot of money. And he says to Milan, like, I've been thinking. So, like, the place is abandoned, right? So none of the stuff belongs to anyone. Milan's like, well, I mean, a lot of people would probably claim it, but ownership is going to be tough to prove. And we go, and she says, so I'd say don't touch anything anyway. Like, oh, okay. And so he goes up and he notices that it's only the spearhead that's metal, not the shaft. The shaft is made of wood. So despite what Wax just said, but he's like, pokes the spearhead with his toe, hits it with his heel, then he hits it with a rock, and finally he twists it a few times to get it loose. And he's like, oh, it was practically hanging free. I mean, Sophie Tarcell, the inventor, she needs more money. So here we go. Oh, Wayne, this guy. And so Wax is like, okay, so we found the place for certain, as if the statue was not enough evidence. But they find the actual, like, image, the mural that Raylor had copied with the picture of the bands. So they're like, okay, this is where he went, clearly. And meanwhile, Alec finds a pattern on the wall, and he shoves the little box in there, the little allomantic grenade, as they are still calling it, and it like turns some lights on. Like the wall starts glowing in places. And Wayne's like, there's no bulbs or anything rational like that, just bits are glowing. And it turns out that that is enough light to show them some bodies laying in pools of frozen blood. And Wayne's like, they really went far to give this place a creepy look. And Max is like, yeah, I don't think the bodies are part of the decor, but. And then he spots what Wayne has stolen. He's like, Wayne, what the hell is that? Wayne's like, wait, it fell off. I didn't even look at it, Wax. I mean, it must have been loosened by the wind. It's just so
I don't know what you want me to do here, Wax. I mean, it was just laying on the ground.
Didn't even try to hide it.
It's been here for like 300 years, but obviously it just like fell right as we were walking by, and not my fault. Wax is like, don't touch anything else. And Maylon gives him a look, and he's like, you shut up. And she's like, I didn't say a word, Wayne. He's like, you implied one, and that's worse. Implied words are the worst. It's true. And then we get Alec talks about like, oh, I've been to hell. These mountains rise all the way there. And Sarah's like, wait, so you think hell's in the sky? He's like, yeah, where it gets cold, obviously.
I mean, he's got a point.
Yeah, I mean, from his perspective, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Although, despite what he says about you digging down and it gets warm, underground tends to be pretty cool in my experience.
Yeah.
But anyways, the masks are masks of hunters who came in here and apparently got killed. And Wax is like, but I thought you said that the hunters came to destroy this place. And Wax just makes some incredible logical leaps here. And he's like, it all fits the evidence. But basically, he decides that either they lied about coming to destroy the place in the first place, or they changed their minds once they got here and found that, the bands were probably actually here. So he thinks that some of them betrayed the rest, killed them, and then most of the betrayers died in the traps, and the ones that were left returned home. And so he's like, so the ones that went back, did they vanish? And Alec's like, yeah, actually. We were told that they went back to like their families or whatever, but we never saw them again. So he's like, yeah, see, the hunters figured out that they murdered the rest of the crew, so they executed them.
I mean, it all makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it fits the evidence, but it just he's gone real deep into this, like spinning this theory.
Yeah.
He's even like, I bet that they were trying to gather another crew to come back and try again, and the superiors caught them first, and they got executed. And Alec's like, how did you do that? And Wayne's like, he does that all the time. Don't encourage him. So he wants Steris and Telson to stay out here, and Telson's like, no. See, she's the one that he thought Steris was going to be earlier when he was like, you got to stay here. And then he assumes that she's going to argue about it. But Steris is just like, no, that makes perfect sense. Telson's the one who's like, no, I'm coming with you. I don't care what you say.
It's like, we just worked through this with one of you. Why do we have to do this again?
Meanwhile, Steris is like, I'll hang out here and watch our backs.
Yeah. Sister's the worst, am I right?
And so Wax tells Wayne, keep an eye on Steris. And then Marasai, you keep an eye on him. Make sure he doesn't steal any more shit, probably.
Basically.
Yeah.
Alec is like, no. I mean, I know that I'm just the lowly pilot and everything, but you're going to go in there? Do you not see the corpses? And Wax is like, no, it's fine. Melon? And she says, yeah, on it. And Alec doesn't. I mean, he saw Melon do like the transparent thing earlier because he freaked out about it. We saw that for a moment, but he doesn't quite understand what's actually going on here. Melon just steps forward, hits a pressure plate, and a spear launches out of a hole in the wall right through her torso. And she's like, man, this is going to ruin my wardrobe. And Alec is once again like, what the fuck is going on? And Wax says, traps are less threatening when you have an immortal with you. I mean, Elon's like, unless they have explosives, like don't mess around.
Don't let me lose a spike.
Alec must really be thinking, who the hell are these people?
What the hell are these people?
But she's mostly annoyed about the clothing, and Wayne's like, you could take it off. And she thinks for a second, she's like, yeah, okay. And Wax's like, no, just I'll buy you new clothes, okay? Just we don't want Alec to fall over dead. And Alec's like, I don't think I'd mind. And Wayne says, good man, knew I liked you. And Wax like, shut up, both of you. Wayne, go guard. Alec, you come with me in case there's something in your language in here. And so yeah, she keeps going forward, and there's a big, large spiked log that swings out and crushes her against a wall. And we end with Wayne being like, you know what? She might be even better at the Black Watch double stomp than I am. So I guess maybe this is the new Black Watch double stomp, since they didn't actually have a description of that yet.
I find it interesting here that, we're going into all this like Alec is just like, what the fuck is all this? Not once do we see Telson just going, like, you guys have a faceless immortal with you? What the shit?
That's a really interesting point, actually. I guess there could have been a conversation while we weren't paying attention. She could have even heard what Melon was doing on the ship when she's helping Marasai, because it's not that big a ship. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, like as far as we know, she's never once addressed it. It's like, guys, what the fuck?
Yeah, she's yeah. I mean, come on, she's secret bad guy. Come on.
Oh yeah, like Sura's already told us, like, yeah, apparently they have Candace hanging out with them now. And she's just like, oh, okay.
Forget your long lost brother suddenly showing up. A faceless immortal should be the real surprise here.
Yeah. It's like, they have Kendra now? They have Kendra now.
Okay, well, that is the end of our chapters. Let us do some predicments. What is going on? What's going to happen? Are they going to find the bands of mourning in the ancient temple? Will there be explosions along the way to stop Melan?
Okay, so let's start with, will they find the bands of mourning? I'm going to say yes. I think. Yes.
Okay.
Will there be explosions? Yes. I'm gonna start with I'm gonna try my hand at some real wild theories today, because I'm not good with the wild ones really, but let's see how we go. So Telfin, I put forward that yes, she's secret bad guy. We've already done that, but what if she's also secret Kendra?
Ooh.
Wow, that would
So
be.
she, I mean, really messed up for Wax again.
The first place my head goes to is, but Secret Candor is a book 2 thing.
Yeah, you're not allowed to have them in book 3s.
That's possible. Maybe it's a second last book of the series thing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, but perhaps why she's not surprised or disgusted by any of the Kendra activity. And yeah, maybe Telson, she was kidnapped and killed, but then eaten and reformed as a Kendra. So thinking maybe that's a thing that could be there. It would be a really great way to plant someone in Wax's crew and sort of have control over them. So I think that I like that idea. My other fairly wild one. Okay, so who is the sovereign? I feel like there's too many hints in here that are like, oh no, it's the Lord Ruler. He was your king before. Okay, but we did see the Lord Ruler move on, and he was very much like, you know what, I'm done. I'm out. I don't want to go back to this thing. I gave it my go. You guys all sort yourself out. I'm finished with you. So I can't imagine the Lord Ruler being like, yeah, I'm going to come back here. The bands of mourning were supposedly melted down after the Lord Ruler was killed to use the adium, or to get the adium out or something to use that. And I think we talked about earlier in the book that what if they weren't melted down, and what if they were put into other objects or something? Okay, what if they weren't put into other objects, or even if they were, it doesn't matter. But who would be likely to have them when maybe they should have been destroyed? What if Spook is our sovereign?
Oh.
Ooh.
So he was their king before. He was there, like he was the king before they were his king. They speak a different language. And
Yep.
Oh no! Surely it's not High Imperial though.
Maybe it's High Imperial evolved.
There's got to be a fancy version of High Imperial, because they've, now they're kicking people out of airships because they don't know dances, right? Sounds like an all thing to do. Okay.
I don't like this. I don't like where this is going.
But Spook also wrote this book about hemalurgy, and he also was spiked when he was up with the citizen in Urtau, and he would have some knowledge of hemalurgy. He would probably wouldn't strike me as odd if he decided to leave being the Lord High Mistborn and try to put a spike in his own eye to give himself some hemalurgical abilities. Maybe he was trying to figure this out the whole time. I don't really know. Oh, I just had another thought that popped into my head, and I don't like that either, but I'll throw it out there. So because Spook's then got all of this knowledge as well, if he's left, he maybe doesn't know that there are other metals to have other elementic abilities. So Wax's ability is so highly revered because they don't know about these time bubbles and stuff like that, because they're kind of stuck with the knowledge of 300 years ago rather than having advanced any further. Then my other thought that just popped into my head, hang on, where did I get all that? Okay, so that's my thought about Spook. What if Spook uncovered an ability, which he may have done, but it could extend his life? What if Spook is Wax's uncle?
Ooh.
Ooh.
That would certainly be weird.
He's collecting his own descendants in the first book. That's very meta.
Ugh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
I
they
don't know
did
why he
say.
would do that necessarily.
I mean, we know he extended his life a bit because he ruled for 100 years, so
Yeah.
Mm.
he could have just pulled a
Supposedly.
vanishing act.
Yeah, but also he wrote
Yeah.
that, the Lord Ruler was spiked by 3 people, and who knows what he really
Mm.
did. Anyway, they're
True.
just my kind of wild thoughts today.
Can't trust that spook guy. Who knows what actually happened?
No, it just strikes me as something he would do.
Yeah.
But really, Lord Mistborn. Oh, my other thought was because the conventicle of Saran, it was Saran, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I was getting kind of those sorts of vibes, but then they put light in there now. Like it was all dark and gloomy, and maybe he's trying to, I don't know, reform the conventicle. If the world got reformed, maybe it could still be the conventicle of Saran, but it's somewhere else
Ah.
up in the mountains.
And then they
Could be the
stuck a
same
statue
kind
up
of
there.
place.
Oh, yeah.
I feel
Mhm.
like you were going to hide the bands of mourning, perhaps in a place that's hemalurgy heavy might be a place to do it if
Yeah.
you were so inclined to put all that together.
That makes a lot of sense.
I really like that.
And we're not too terribly far from New Saran, so you got a whole
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I've got today. Enjoy that.
I like this. We've got. I think that's the third theory so far about who the sovereign might be, because obviously you got the Lord Ruler's possibility. We mentioned Marsh earlier, and now we got Spook.
Mm-hmm. And I think I got a different one. This is the so I'll start at the Bands of Mourning thing because that's the question you asked. I think this is because this idea just tickled me to no end. I think we've already found the Bands of Mourning. I think that the tip of that spear that Wayne pulled off the.
You beat me to it.
Oh,
I
were you
knew
gonna
that was
say
going to be Dak's. I knew that was Dak's theory because
Yep.
Dak has been on the lookout the whole book. He's like, they're going to come across something.
I
It's going
know.
to secretly be the Bands of Mourning. So
Yes.
as soon as he said, he's like, they found that thing, and I was like, I know what he's going to predict.
Yeah. No, I took that to heart when Dak said that, and I've been looking out too. And as soon as As soon as Wayne pulled that thing off, I was like,
Wayne is Spook? Oh my god.
Yeah, no. As soon as Wayne pulled that thing off, I was like,
Use women are about it, even.
That's the band. That's the Band of Mourning. And then I got to thinking, well, if it's the Band of Mourning, if those are the Bands of Mourning, why would it be a spear? Because the spear story doesn't have to do like the Lord Ruler and a spear don't really have that much to do with each other. But then I thought, well, what does a spear have to do with things? And the Church of the Survivor, the symbol is the spear.
True.
And so my theory is that the sovereign is actually Kelsier. And he
like Ghost Kelsier?
Well, I don't know. My assumption is since he's got a spike in his eye that he would have had to because we know at the end of the book with Spook, where he's king, we know that Kelsier shows up and talks to him and they make a spike together. So or Spook has a spike made.
Oh, yeah, he had a spike made and put it in his ears, and then he could see Kelsier.
Right, okay. So he could see Kelsier. So I assume Spook wrote this whole big book on hemalurgy. My assumption is some way they found a way to bind Kelsier to the regular realm. Maybe the spike is what does that. I don't know why it has to go through his eye, but whatever. And it may be as simple as not as simple because it sounds like it'd be pretty complex, but maybe his soul is bound to a human body through connection. I don't especially since he apparently the sovereign passed his knowledge of connection on to these peoples in the South. So maybe somehow his cognitive soul is being bound to a body by use of the spike. Or maybe the spike is simply there to give him ferrochemical abilities because we know he didn't have those before. But maybe that's what the bands are doing. I don't know. But yeah, that's my theory because the spear is very prominent and then the bands are the tip of the spear. And again, like I said, it doesn't make sense to me as a symbol for the Lord Ruler. And all the other things we've said, like we saw him move on in Secret History. To me, it makes more sense that it could be Kelsier.
Okay.
Because we know he was trying to come back in some way. And maybe he's now left those behind because he found some other super magic-y way of doing something. Or maybe he's gone completely at this point, 300 years later. But
Yeah, he could have gotten bored of being alive.
Yeah.
And moved on. Yeah.
so this is where I'm taking it even a step further than I've gone already, because as I kept thinking about this, I kept thinking of trying to connect different dots here. So the next part of my theory is, because we talked about how Miles' 100 Lives, a lot of his rhetoric and stuff was almost Kelsier-like.
Mhm.
And it's like basically, nobility, all these people are disgusting, we should get rid of them, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
What if Kelsier is actually Trell?
Oh.
And if Kelsier was Trell, maybe he's become a shard. If Trell is a shard, or
Interesting.
a sliver, or whatever.
Wow. These other shards came down, just like, I want to see what Addie and Laros are doing. And instead,
Yeah.
he finds Harmony. He's like, who the fuck are you? And Harmony's like, oh, watch out behind you. And Kelsey just punches him. And it's like, taking this.
Punches him in
Yeah.
the face. That's
His
Kelsey
mission to
as well.
punch every god is coming
Kelsier's
true.
thing. Yeah. So that's my way out theory. But I'm at least gonna say it would at least tickle me if the tip of the spear was the Bands of Mourning, at the very least. That other stuff, it could be Marsh. I feel like that's too on the nose with the one spike thing, especially because, when we saw him, he obviously has 2 spikes again.
Right.
If it was just after the Final Empire collapsed,
Right.
though, he had
Yes.
one at a time.
Yeah.
True.
But I actually really, I almost hope Jamie's is correct, because it would just give me more reason to not like Spook. So who knows? But that's those are my theories.
See, if I had my druthers, as it were, I want Kelsier to have gone off into the Cosmere on a quest to like punch all gods.
Sure.
That's what I want him to be doing, but who knows?
Kelsier, God Puncher.
He tracks down Hoyd and says, "You're gonna be my boat to the gods." This is revenge for what was that guy's name? Stanky.
Spanky.
Yeah. Spanky.
Yep.
You remember
I
me from
will
the Well of
avenge you,
Ascension?
Spanky.
Yeah, you remember me from the Well of Ascension, bitch? Punch.
But no, there's some support for I like Joe's idea too, and we got a fourth possibility for who the sovereign is, and there's there is some good some interesting possibilities there. I like that. I like the whole Trell thing. That could be really interesting if he's somehow managed to go even further than we thought.
Sure. Kelsier is the man.
Yep.
And the other parts fit too, where he was like, I was a king and I was a god.
That was actually gonna be my thing. Is like, was he a god? Would he go back and tell him like, yeah, I was their god up north?
Well, he was a god at some point, and then
he held the power.
And
That's
then
true.
also
Yeah.
he became god to the survivors.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
And then he was the king of thieves or whatever. So
While you were talking about the end of what we read before, I had to go back and look to see what happens at the end of Bands of Mourning, because he I guess convinces Spook to make an earring, and then when Spook puts the earring in, he can see him.
You don't
that's
mean
what
Bands
it
of
was.
Mourning.
You meant
Sorry, Secret History.
History.
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Secret History.
Yeah. I was like, please don't spoil the end of Bands of Mourning.
Yeah.
But no.
Oh, was it just an earring? It wasn't a spike?
No, he has a spike made out of an earring made out of an old spike.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah,
I
they
got
found like a bag of Inquisitor spikes or something.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And
Pickled spikes.
Yeah, exactly. And what Kelsier says is, he's like, because he's like, we can do there's all these possibilities, stuff that we could do out there. And Spook says, well, why would I care? And Kelsier's like, dude, the Lord Ruler was immortal by combining the powers. You're halfway there, Spook. Aren't you curious what else could be possible? We have a little pile of Inquisitor spikes and nothing to do with them. And then Spook thinks, immortal. And then he goes, okay, but what about you? What do you get out of this, Kelsier? And Kelsier goes, nothing big. Just a little thing. Someone once explained my problem. My string has been cut, the thing that holds me to the physical world. His smile broadened. Well, we're just going to have to find me a new string.
Yeah, new body.
So I think that supports
onto
both
it.
Jamie and Joe's theories, because we got Kelsier trying to convince Spook to maybe use some spikes to become immortal, and we've got Kelsier saying he needs a new string. So interesting possibilities there. Yep.
Immortality. It's a real Dragon Balls moment.
First immortality,
Then the
bitches.
bitches. Yeah. Speaking of DBZ Abridged, they've actually started doing commentary of their episodes now,
That's
and it's
meta.
actually pretty good.
Okay, might look into that.
Yeah, it's not on their regular channel. I think it's on like Team 4-Star Bento Box or something like that. But yeah,
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay,
Sure.
Dak. He stole your big theory, but please go ahead.
sorry,
that's okay.
Dak. You should have gone first. My bad.
If anything, it just lends credence to the fact that it's like we're probably onto something because like we both saw it straight away and just like, oh, that's got to be it. Just the fact that they make a whole big deal of him stealing it, and then the only focus it gets is they just go, whatever, he's got it now. I'm like, okay. They made a big deal of him stealing it, but then tried to make it really innocuous. I'm like, that's got to be important then.
So you think it's not actually aluminum, or?
Well, I mean, if it's the bands, then it's got all the metals in it, so it's got aluminium through it. So that's probably enough to render it invisible to steel sight or whatever the hell it's called.
Okay.
I don't know if it is called steel sight, but I really like that. I'm going to trademark that.
That's fair.
So that was my big one, which. Yeah, I've been harping on the whole book. It's like it's got to be something, so there it is. As far as the Sovereign goes, when I read it, I immediately went to Marsh, just because there's got to be some more context for what he's been doing, and I could totally see him like after he departs, like Ruin's dead, and Harmony's probably let him go. He's just like trying to do his thing, and then we don't see him again for 300 years. There's a long gap in there. We don't know what he was up to. Apparently he became death at some point, but we don't know when that happened. So in my head, it's like, oh, well, he could easily find another civilization, the one that Rashek just did not give an ounce of a crap about and left them to rot on the other side of the planet. And he could be like, the Lord Ruler neglected these people. I will try and guide them. I will show them the arts of allomancy and everything. But then that makes me think, how the hell would he have the power to do that? And the more I think about it, and from what the other two have said, the theory is crumbling, because how would Marsh even get there? I don't think he has access to the cognitive realm, and he probably can't walk across the boiling oceans. So,
I mean, the oceans aren't boiling anymore after he moves the planet back where it's supposed to go.
True.
So
the question
that wouldn't necessarily be a block.
Yeah, true. But yeah, like the more I think about it, the more I think, it's probably not Marsh. And like it could just be me wanting it because like Marsh is one of my favorite characters and I want to do more with him. I want to see more of him. I want to know more of what he's been doing. So that's probably me projecting that onto this situation. The one spike through the eye, like again, it's like that's got to be a Marsh reference. But then I'm like, well, if they saw him enough to get one spike through the eye, why is the statue not full of spikes? Why is it not very obviously an Inquisitor statue? Surely, if it was Marsh, they would have been a bit more accurate with that. So, there's that. So, it's probably not a statue of Marsh, which means it probably wasn't him. In which case, I'll have to defer to either of the other two theories on that, because I think both Jamie and Joe, like, their Kelsier and Spook theories are absolute blinders. I love them both. So, I don't know which I want to be true, but yeah. The whole lot of ramble for saying, like, I got nothing.
Now you got me picturing, because I mean, you assume that the statue would be pretty accurate because the guy, whoever the Sovereign was, he came up here supposedly with his priests and presumably had them build this statue of him. Now I'm just imagining like either Kelsey or Spook just like standing there posing.
Which I could 100% see both of them doing.
Yeah.
I should also point out, like, part of my thinking on this is on our version of the book, like this, I presume it's this statue that's on the cover.
Yeah,
And,
that would make sense, right?
I don't have that cover. What is that? Is it the Australian cover or what
it's the
cover?
UK
is it?
UK cover, yeah.
UK.
UK.
It's got a
Bands
picture
of Mourning cover.
We talked about this like when the book started, I think. It's like there's a statue and we think that's Wayne at the bottom.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
I don't think it can be the exact, because this guy appears to be holding a cane and he doesn't have a spike in his eye that I can see.
That's true, yeah. It's about like, yeah, the accuracy of this picture notwithstanding, I've probably been a bit influenced by that picture. Whether or not I should have been is another matter, but yeah, and just the fact that the thing that threw me is like, well, this statue has hair. Like, Marsh don't got no hair.
Nope. I don't know that any of the people that we imagine would be wearing a suit like this, but maybe they would.
I mean,
Yeah, there's no spike in the eye either, though.
Yeah.
no. I mean, you could make the argument that like the cane is potentially a spear of some sort,
Mm-hmm, yeah.
but Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but it doesn't come down to like a spearhead type point either. Although I guess this could be after Wayne stole it.
Well, that's it. We say, oh, that's probably Wayne standing at the bottom because it appears he's holding a cane, but he could be holding the spearhead in the picture. It could be a very long spearhead.
Or another theory about this cover is that this actually happens in the epilogue, maybe. And Wayne
That's true,
decides that he should get himself a statue commissioned out of Illinois with their trumpets on it. And so it's Wayne standing under a statue of Wayne.
This guy's also neither of them is wearing a hat though. So now I'm like, I don't think either of them can be Wayne. There's no hat.
Yeah, good
Wayne
point.
would definitely have a hat.
Yeah, and if he was going to have a statue made of himself, that statue would have a hat. 100%.
Yeah, that is 100% true.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, we've got an interesting new mystery that I guess just cropped up this week because we never heard the Sovereign before. We saw the guy on the coin that had one spike in his eye, right? But that was presumably that's supposed to be the same guy, but we didn't know anything about who that was.
So those coins, those are obviously we were seeing those long before we knew about the ship and Alec and the people on it and everything. So we're just like, that's kind of weird. We don't know what that's about, but we presume those coins are all tied to them now that we know that. Correct? That's the assumption.
Well, one would think. I mean, because we got the description of the coin as having the two different metals on it, right?
Yeah. Because then that makes me think, all right, I know this probably won't get answered in the book. What the hell is Hoyt's stake in this? Because he made a point of showing up specifically to lob a coin at Wax's head. So,
yeah.
Ooh. But I know we're not going to get an answer to it, but I'm just like, what's his game here?
The coin doesn't seem to be the same as the medallions in that we've never heard it mentioned that the medallions have like a picture of a dude on it with a spike in his eye, right? But
true. It
seems like they must be related in some way because even just from the statue, like this statue was made by those people from the South of dude with one spike in his eye. And I think the symbols on the coin were the same as these other symbols too. So yeah, it does seem like they're related. Maybe the coin is their actual money and the medallions are just look similar.
Yeah. As you talk about the picture of their king, their god, with one spike through his eye, and my thought immediately goes just like, man, maybe that's why Marsh has two now, because if you found out Kelsey had to have a spike put through his eye to tie him to the material world or whatever it's called, and Marsh is like, oh fuck no, I'm not looking like him again, and puts the spike back through his other eye.
I love that it's like a brotherly jealousy or something, or a rivalry
just out
thing.
Of spite, it's like, no, I will have my own identity, damn it.
While I like that idea, I think the point of putting the other spike back in is to regain all of his powers, because essentially that makes him immortal as well.
Oh yeah, I know. I just thought it was funny.
Random. Here is from the graphic audio version of the Bands of Mourning. Here's a picture which I assume is supposed to be Alec. Let me find our chat so you guys can see what they're depicting him like. Okay, we have two emails that I wanted to read this time, so let me pull those up real quick.
Terrifying.
Right?
I mean, I guess the fact that it's just the black eyes straight through, but I guess that's part of their thing.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
The first one is from Thomas, or Tommy TZ in Discord. Hi, Data, Joe, Jamie, and Dak. And then the title is Hi from New Zealand again. I was enjoying the ideas you had about the origins of the names in the set. Most of the crew went with the idea that the names come from cards or poker. My suggestion is that they come from mathematics. Set theory is a branch of mathematics, and a study of number patterns is often called sequences and series. Arrays are another mathematical structure used in a few places and also commonly seen in programming. The only odd one out for me is suit, but I'll let that one slide. What other names do you think might fit? I'd like to see Lady Matrix or Mr. Union.
Shut up, Digit.
You integral, you. Yeah. Gigabyte. Now that'd be a sweet name.
This is Mr. Integer. We don't talk to him.
An imaginary number.
No, because they do say that they study maths.
Oh yeah, Alex said that.
Alex said that? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay, sorry. I know Data is going to read The Lost Metal on his own to preserve the format of the show with him being the ringleader. However, I would have loved to see a new chapter of the show where all four of you are in the dark together, and Data can join in on the theory crafting without Joe remarking that it's all a bit disingenuous since he already knows everything.
I think we've discussed that at length. No, Data refuses to do that.
Well, and I mean, let's even if we did do the Lost Metal right when it came out next month or month after next, sorry, I still couldn't necessarily theorycraft on the same level because I've read all the other stuff in the Cosmere. So we'd have to get through all of the Cosmere
Yeah.
before we'd be at the point where I could make theories without potentially having more information.
Could we do it for a short story or something maybe sometime?
I have actually thought of that because I mentioned maybe last time that there's stuff that's currently out only in audiobook that he's done. There's a couple of things, and I haven't read them because I can't do audiobooks. So if they were to come out in a readable format, then we could totally do one of those like that. Although I don't think there's anything Cosmere out in that. So you can't do theories on the same level if it's not a Cosmere thing. But
Yeah, true.
yeah, I mean, at some point we might be able to read something where it's my first time also if it's something like that. We'll have to see. Or I mean, someday when we've read through everything and something new comes out, then maybe. But that's a long way off. So he says, thank you for bringing joy every week to my Monday evenings and Tuesday mornings. Also, shout out to Dak and Jamie for being my fellow Anzacs. They bring a style of banter that's very relatable from what I hear at home.
Classic. You're welcome, man.
Your
Yeah,
loyal
anytime.
fan in Aotearoa.
New Zealand.
Yeah, that's
Aroa, I
that's
think.
the like.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
we've talked about that
native
before.
name.
We have
talked about
It's
that.
the native name for New Zealand. Because when my wife and I were in Hawaii and we went to the Polynesian cultural center, they kept saying that name, and I was like, wait, on the map that's New Zealand. And my wife leans over, and was like, yeah, that's what they call it. I was like, oh.
Thank you, Thomas. Our other email is from Brandon, and it says, so glad I found your podcast.
Wait, Sanderson?
No.
We all went there.
Yeah.
I did not even
I mean, if you
consider
just
that,
say
but yeah, no.
Brandon, I mean, come on.
It says, hey guys, I just started reading The Final Empire a couple of weeks ago, which that tells you it's probably not Brandon, or Sanderson. But and now I'm
You may
nearly
never
done.
have read his book before. I don't know.
I'm nearly done with Well of Ascension. Partway through The Final Empire, I found your show, and I must say I thoroughly enjoy reading the chapters and listening to the corresponding podcast throughout my day. It's been great reading along with you guys and hearing how all your thoughts line up with mine. I'm trying to catch up to the book you're reading now. It might take a bit before I hear my email come up on the podcast, if you're even still reading them every week, that is. But that's fine. Just wanted to say you guys are all awesome. I'll be writing out the Sanderlanche for a while. Brandon.
Well, hello from the world of tomorrow.
Well, by the time you hear this, it'll be the world of a long time ago, bro.
That's true.
Okay.
Hello
Farewell
from the world
of
of yesterday. Yeah.
But I love that. I love people reading the books for the first time and deciding to go along with the podcast. That's awesome.
Yeah, props to you. It will be difficult to do, but if you've got all of those episodes out, at least you can just get straight into them. So
Right.
good job.
Brandon, you have to let us know if you follow along with the same reading order that we do, because you got secret history and a debatable spot. Some people like to leave it till after this book that we're currently reading. So I'll be interested to, because if you decide to leave that one for later, then we might spoil it from all our discussion in subsequent episodes. That would be sad.
True.
Yeah, we bring it up a lot.
It's kind of relevant to the things that we talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good little read, that secret history.
Okay, so yeah, other than the ones.
Presumably, when he gets to this episode and hears his email, he will know one way or the other.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Write it, let us know when you get to this point. If you stuck it out for 100 and there's gonna be 20 episodes. I think this is our 120th.
Wow.
But yeah, so we have two more, but they're for later in the book, so we'll get to those eventually someday. But if anyone would like to send us emails, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook and Patreon and Twitter, all sorts of places. For the next episode of Bands of Mourning, we are reading 4 chapters, 24, 25, 26, 27. So that'll be, we've only 3 episodes left in this book, so that'll be a big chunk of what's left. There are 31 chapters and an epilogue in this book. So after these 4, that'll leave us with 4 chapters and an epilogue. Does that mean that it's Sanderlanche time? Maybe.
I guess it is.
I mean,
Gotta be getting close.
right? Yeah. Man, 3 more episodes. Seems so close, and yet somehow so far.
All right.
A lot can still happen in 3 episodes.
It's true.
Mm.
Yeah, lives can change in 3 episodes. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. So, okay, we don't have any new patrons, no new reviews, so none of that to go through. Music by Miracle of Sound. Throw that out there. And remember that Joe and I are going to be at the Dragonsteel Minicon in November, so we may have the plan is that we're going to have something. We still haven't decided exactly what that we're going to hand out. We'll have some sort of I'll have to have some sort of identifying way for you to find us and be like, hey, I know you. Give me stuff.
Yeah. You'll know it's me.
Maybe I have lots of ridiculous hats from various trips to Disney World and places. Maybe I'll just wear a crazy hat.
Sure.
We'll see.
Sure.
You could just get your own shirt made, and it could just be like, ask me about volcanoes.
Yeah.
That was one of
If
the
you
shirt
know,
designs
you
that
know.
we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask me about my volcano theory was like the
Mhm.
very first shirt that I tried to get designed. That
Yeah.
didn't go well.
No, it did not.
I was just picturing you both wearing shirts that say Sanderlanche on the front and on the back say staff.
Joe's
Let's see
idea
your
was just fuck spook.
Yeah. That
No,
would be
no,
on
no, no,
what
no.
we handed out.
You know those like no smoking signs, like the red circle with the line diagonally through it?
Yeah, like that's
Yeah.
a spook, but like with that.
Yeah.
Somebody in the Discord pointed out, because Joe was like, I guess, I'll just wear a blindfold to avoid spoilers. Someone was like, if Joe goes to the convention wearing a blindfold, he'll be inadvertently cosplaying as Spook.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Never. I'll wear 2 eye patches instead.
Joe can just go around with his blindfold on being like, I know why you're sad.
Yeah. That's how you'll know it's me. I'll walk up creepily, stand behind you, and say,
Get
I
thrown
know why
out
you're
immediately.
sad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. So, yes,
I know why you're sad. It's
if
okay.
you're going to be there in November, keep listening because we will tell you how to find us and we'll have hopefully something to hand out. Other than that, like I said, 4 chapters for the next episode that we do on this, and for people following along, like Brandon was doing, I'm impressed. That's awesome. I love hearing that. That's one of my favorite things. So if you're following along, 4 chapters.
I was like, maybe you should email Brandon and say you're going to be at this convention, just in case he goes.
Yeah, that's true.
He won't know about it.
Yeah, because that's like when I get to spots in one of my favorite podcasts and they're like, hey, we got these really cool hockey jerseys. And I was like, ooh, I want to buy one of those. And then I'm like, wait, this was 2 years ago.
Yep.
And then I go to their website and they've been sold out for like a year.
Or it's like free giveaway. If you comment on this episode, you could be entered for a
Yeah,
drawing.
nah.
Yep.
Never works out, does it?
We really appreciate our listeners, our patrons, the people sending in emails. It's all awesome. We love you guys. And wuzzing to the time of next. Colo?
Steam train running on a reckless rail, speeding right into the rising gale. Shuttle harder 'cause we're on your tail. London